Hi, welcome to Finding Forever, where we talk about all things foster care and adoption related. I'm Leanna. Rob is not in this episode because life happens. And I am recording from the beautiful bedroom of mine because, well, I don't really have anywhere else to record today and I wanted to get this out. Okay, so with the holidays fast upon us, I figured I would do a special episode of Finding Forever with tips on how for new foster parents or adoptive parents. Each situation is different because foster care is a lot different than adoption, but I also know that each situation is different based on when the child is placed with you or whether you take emergency placements or not. So here's long and short of it. The holidays are a hard time for a lot of people, especially children in care or children who have been in care. It's a reminder of their past. All of us start to get sentimental around this time, and some people, it makes you a little sad. And coming from a place of trauma, it can be hard. So these are some tips just to help new foster parents or maybe even seasoned foster parents get through the holidays. There we go. With a little grace, understanding, and a little happiness. I want to start off by saying, I know it's frustrating being a foster parent when people say, oh, you're doing one of the hardest jobs in the world, but you really are. You are taking children into your home and caring for them in hopes that they can return to their biological family. And the holidays is an extremely hard time to be that person. As an adoptive parent, it can be even just as hard because especially children adopted as older have expectations and things that they miss. They're always going to miss, and trauma is hard. That's just the situation with adoption and foster care. Trauma's hard, and that's really the only thing I can say other than trauma's hard. It's life, especially with foster care. Now, I didn't put any of these tips in like a specific order, so if it seems a little out of order, I'm sorry. But with those, and I wrote them down on my phone, so if I look down, I'm just checking my notes. So the first tip that a lot of foster care parents, and this may be something that you already do in your own practice with getting a new placement, and this was something you should do, especially if it's a new relationship with you and your adoptive child. This is going to seem like it's a list geared more towards foster care, which it is, because that tends to be the time when we get emergency placements happen a lot, is around the holidays. And this is new placements for either new parents or, well, new foster parents or seasoned foster parents. And you might even be placed with your adoptive child as well as around the holidays too. Adoption and foster care happen year round. It is what it is. One of the first things you can do is talk to your child and set expectations for the holiday. And I'm not just talking about your expectations, like saying what your traditions are and what goes on in your house, but ask them what their expectations are. For a lot of kids, holidays, especially kids in care, holidays are not a happy time for them. They're not happy memories. They are scary memories and sad memories. So a good thing to do is just to sit down with them, especially if you get the placement before the holidays and you know they're coming up. Start asking them, what did you do for the holidays? What are your traditions? What are the things that you guys like to do in your house with where you used to live? Ask them about their parents. Because they're still their parents. Ask them, what was your favorite thing that you used to do with your mom? What was the favorite thing you used to do with your dad? For adoptive placements, be like, what did you used to do, like, before you came here? Especially older children, because older children have these memories, and maybe some of those things are things that always were the only good things they had in life. Maybe they were some of the things that just made their life better. Another reason to do this is because some kids don't have an expectation of the holiday. Some kids believe that the holiday is not for them. I have heard, and it's really saddening, but I've heard certain foster parents say that they've had kids who've come into care and been like, oh, I never got presents at Christmas, or they were in and out of care and they got presents, but they were never on Christmas Day. People would just be like, here, and it would come from like the department, or it would come from you know, some sort of fundraiser for kids, and they would just be told to open up the presents then, so they didn't get them on the actual Christmas day, they got them before. It's really, each experience is different because everyone's different and everyone's background's different. So just talk to your foster child. I mean, I know this sounds obvious, but it might not like click in your head in the moment, especially if the placement is new and you're not sure and you're just got all this big checklist, because a lot of things that happen in foster homes is you have a big checklist, and your checklist just gets bigger around the holidays, with between taking the kids to visits, taking the kids to activities you would want them to be in, and taking them to doctor's visits and therapists and all those things, and just talking to them and asking them what were holidays like before you came to our home will go a very long way. And another good thing, which brings me to the next tip, another good thing is, once they've told you these things, take the good things from their past and try to incorporate them into your traditions. If they have a tradition of, well, my mom used to go outside and play with us in the snow before Christmas every year, or my dad used to, you know, take us to this specific store every year, include that, because maybe that's going to make them feel a little less isolated and a little more happy during the holiday season. Which brings me to my next tip, which is read books to them about the holidays. Whether it's a book about Santa, or it's a book about, if you're religious, your religion. It's okay to expose these kids to your religious beliefs, as long as you're not forcing your beliefs on them, but to expose them to it and just be like, well, this is what our traditions are, and this is what we do every year, so they don't take it as a surprise when, say, you say our family goes to church every Christmas and everyone has to be there. Manage their expectations. Let them know this is just something we do. We want to include you because we love you. Or if they're a new placement and you're not comfortable telling them it's because you love them, just be like, look, I really want to welcome you to the family. I want to treat you like everybody else. Please come with us to church and enjoy the service with us. Or if church isn't your thing, but you go over to your mother's house every Christmas Eve, maybe continue to go over to your mother's house, but maybe go a little bit earlier when there's less people, so the kids don't get overwhelmed. That's another thing another tip I want to give you guys with a new placement during the holidays, is the holidays can be overwhelming for foster kids especially, and new people, especially when you've already been hurt and you've been traumatized, and managing those expectations for a lot of people and a lot of new people, especially around the holiday, can be hard. So maybe instead of going to 5 different parties or however many events that you do, maybe schedule a little bit less. Maybe instead of going to, say, your mother's house or your husband's mother, or I don't know, your spouse's mother, because I don't know if you're a man or a woman watching this, maybe instead of going over there, invite them over to your house and invite them over singly, because it can get overwhelming meeting new people. If you've had the kid for a little bit and you know their triggers, maybe skipping the event altogether. I know it's hard because maybe that's your tradition that you do and you really love that, but being a foster parent is kind of a sacrifice. And maybe instead of going to the house, maybe you guys meet on neutral ground so the child can meet them in a neutral environment, remembering that while you may love and care for your biological family, these people are still new people to your foster child. Another thing is schedule downtime. Holiday season is extremely busy for everyone. You're coming to the end of a school semester, you're going on the Christmas holiday, you're going on the New Year's holiday, you're going to be doing a lot of events that you don't normally do throughout the year. Scheduling downtime is essential because a lot of kids in care have autism, a lot of kids in care have severe trauma. I mean, every child in care has severe trauma. A lot of kids in care have disabilities and delays, and scheduling this downtime will allow them to process what just happened and allow them to decompress and not be so overwhelmed. And a lot of the triggers and what a lot of people would call tantrums, but they're not tantrums, they are just emotional outbursts that children have because of feeling overwhelmed and feeling out of place can make them. And just scheduling a little bit of extra downtime, just so they don't feel too frustrated. Letting them know, hey, we're gonna do this and this and this, but maybe cut half of what you normally would have done in half until they get used to your family, or until they're reunified. It really helps, especially if the child comes to you right in the middle of the holiday, because they don't know your history, they don't know your schedules, they don't know what you do, and for a lot of these kids, that can be a lot to take on in such a short amount of time. Now make sure you do have things scheduled to do, but don't overdo it, because it's just gonna make both of you feel way overwhelmed. Another thing you can do during the holiday season that can help, especially if you're getting a new, or you could get a new placement, is have extra presents on hand, extra stockings, extra candy, extra cookies. Just have them set aside, put away, and if you get a call saying we have an emergency placement that needs to come today or tomorrow, you're not caught off guard. And it really helps, especially if you know your age range, and you know, you say your age range is age 6 to age 12. You have a couple of things that, you know, a 6 to 9 year old would like, and a couple of things that a 9 to 12 year old would like. And then that way, even though it won't be a customized Christmas present situation for the child, it'll still be something maybe they possibly like, and they won't feel left out at the holiday, and you won't feel like you need to rush to Walmart the day before Christmas or the day of Christmas and go and get something for this child so they have something to open and not feel sad. Another thing to keep in mind is, speaking of things for the kids, is, again, I'm looking at my list. You might maybe have them make some handmade crafts, like have some extra handmade crafts things. And you can do this with your bio children if you have bio children at home. You can do this with your nieces and nephews if they want to come over and hang out with the new foster child. And just sit down and make a craft with them. They can give it as a present to the kids that are around them, or they can make another present and take it to their biological family, because that really helps them feel connected. Because a lot of time during the holidays, kids feel disconnected from their past, they feel disconnected from their biological family, and this will help them feel connected to both you and their biological family. They'll see that you're not trying to replace them, you're trying to include them, and they can even take that to a visit that happens during the holiday. Which brings me to my next tip. Go over with them their expectations of when they're going to see their biological mother and father during the holiday. Some kids have a no contact order during the holidays, so you have to be upfront, especially you have to be age appropriate. You can't tell a 3-year-old. 3-year-olds won't understand what they're saying, so you might not even want to have that conversation with them. But if they're like 5, 6, even 4, sit them down. Don't go into too much detail, but even with older kids, you know, the detail depends on the age, right? So younger, less detail, more succinct in its answer. Older, more detailed answers. But you want to go over their expectations of when they're going to see their biological family during the holidays. This is because some kids assume they're going to see them on Christmas Day, and that's not going to happen, and then they get really disappointed and they get really sad when that doesn't happen. So just, if they have regularly scheduled visits, be like, okay, you're going to see, and say Christmas falls on a Wednesday this year. Well, say their visits are normally Wednesday. Explain to them that their visit to see probably either going to happen on the Tuesday before or the Thursday after, and explain to them and just set the expectation. Maybe even bring their caseworker in on it when you do set the expectation for that, so that you're not the bad guy, but just explain that the office at Child Services isn't open on Christmas Day, and therefore their visit won't be able to happen on Christmas Day. Just go over that. Minimize any and all questions they can have. When I mean minimize, maximize the amount that you're willing to give information, especially depending on their age. Tell them, you know, as much information as you possibly can. Be as open as you possibly can, being dependent on their age and the information you have. If it's an emergency placement, you probably don't have any answers. And the only thing you can say is, sweetie, mommy and daddy made some poor choices, and you need to be here so you can be safe for right now. I don't know when you're going to be able to see your mommy and daddy, but as soon as I do know and I have information, I will let you know, and you will be the first one I tell. That way they understand you're not keeping them from their parents. You're just doing what is required of you, and you're trying to keep them safe and make their lives better. It's a quick conversation. It's a hard conversation, but if you have that conversation in the front and of the whole situation, there'll be less meltdowns, less triggers, less everything. Kids want to know just as much as you want to know, and they are quite understanding if you just come to them and talk to them like a person. That's a big thing that I strongly suggest doing. Another thing that I can say as a tip is start some new traditions. Maybe go out and buy a tablecloth and have everybody sign it, and then every year that's your tablecloth to see who was in your house at that time. If you're a long-term foster parent, you're gonna find a lot of kids sign and they're not there in the next year. Make sure they put their age and the day they got to your house. It'll be a nice thing for you to look back on for yourself, for your kids, for everybody, especially if you keep in touch with the kids. And another thing I can say is, if you can, get in touch with, if I can say this, if you can, get in touch. There are plenty of companies that love to sponsor foster kids during this time of year. Toys for Tots, there's so many. I will leave a list in the description box below, and I'm even going to do a blog post on our webpage as soon as it goes live. So when you see this, I'll put out a video, or either a video or an update letting you guys know to go to our blog with even more lists of where you can go for help with your foster kid, for help with presents, help with making one of their wishes come true. But for now, I'm going to leave in the description box a list of companies that help during this time of the year. And one good thing to know is you can travel with your foster kid if you give their caseworker enough notice, because they can go before the judge and the judge will let them know. You just have to give your itinerary. You go do you. The kid can usually come with you and have fun. In fact, it makes a good memory and a good bonding experience for you and your foster child. And let me see. Alrighty. And the last thing I want to tell you guys as foster parents, don't put too much pressure on yourself. I know it's easy to do as a mom, as a dad, as a parent in general, a grandparent, whether you're here as kinship and you're the aunt or uncle, whatever you are, as their caretaker, it's very easy to put a lot of pressure on yourself. I do it too. And go, I need to make it this big, huge thing. Kids aren't expecting that. Kids are expecting, foster children don't even know what to expect. So what you need to do is just don't put pressure on you, don't put pressure on them, and just make this, remember that season is the time for bonding and love and giving, and just try to take time out for yourself during this time too, and maybe go have a bubble bath or drink a beer or whatever it is you're into. Play a video game. Go out on a date night if you can. If you can find a sitter during this time of year, let me know, because I'd like to know that. That's hard to do during the holiday season, is find a sitter. But find something that you can do for yourself, because you're doing an amazing thing. You are helping someone and they need you to not be stressed too. So don't put too much pressure on yourself. I know it's easy to do that, but try not to, because that's a pain. And that's really all I got for you guys right now. We're gonna do a podcast on this, as always, and I'm very appreciative of you guys tuning in. I know this was a longer episode. I don't normally do very long episodes for this channel, but I felt this needed some extra love and explanation. And please, if you made it this far, comment down below a thing that you think would help another foster family, or comment down below a question that you have for us, or comment down below a way that someone has helped you during this holiday season or a previous holiday season. And thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Please give this video a big thumbs up, share so we can reach more people, and subscribe if you're new. And thank you so very much, and much love to you guys and your holiday season, and I really hope you guys have a great time this year. Thank you for watching. Bye.